Hello, welcome to History 146 Online. My name is Bill Morris and I am your professor. A couple of things I want to say before I get started on this example video. First off, I want you to know that videos should be maintained, or rather kept, around 10 minutes a piece. I believe I said in the explanation that I wanted them between 15 and 20, but I'm going to go ahead and lower that down to 10 minutes because of some limitations we have on YouTube. So please keep your videos around 10 minutes. Number two, remember that when you are producing your videos, you do not necessarily need to have the fancy intro or titles or anything like that. It will be nice, and I am requiring at least that you have some sort of visual information to accompany, your narrative. So that can be just holding up a map, for example, on a couple of occasions, or photos of people. If you can use Windows Movie Maker or iMovie on the Mac, if you become a little more proficient at that, you'll find that it's quite easy to add titles and pictures as well. But if you don't want to take the time to learn iMovie or Windows Movie Maker to that level of proficiency, then don't worry about it. But please do at least include two visuals in one way or another. So with that, we'll get started here in just a moment. Again, I'm Bill Morris. Thank you for taking the class. You can see I am flesh and blood, so please don't be too mean on the online forum. All right. Okay, so I have chosen to do the bank war. Now, the bank war takes place in a scope of history that is outside the parameters of our class. It actually occurs in 1830. So we probably won't be getting that deep into the 19th century because this class, of course, is for early American history. So keep that in mind, please. But it will still serve as an example of what one of these videos might look like. Now, in the bank war, we have two main characters. The first being President Andrew Jackson. And President Andrew Jackson was a very colorful figure. He was well, you might say one of the first of the common man presidents, if you will. He really fashioned his public image to be that of one of a common man, of a farmer. He was a war hero, and in fact, he had been in so many battles and also in so many duels that it was said that he rattled when he walked because he had so much metal in him. The other main figure in this little story of the bank war is a man named Nicholas Biddle. And Nicholas Biddle was really on the other end of the spectrum, one might say. He was a more of aristocratic ilk, if you will. He resided in Philadelphia. He was the president of the Second National Bank. And he is part of this emerging class of financial heavyweights that are going to come about throughout the 19th century. The bankers and financial institutions, people who would lead banks, lead financial institutions, and lead kind of corporate structure that will come to dominate America by the turn of the 20th century. Now, what is going to be the real battleground here, what's going to be the cause of friction, is the bank that Nicholas Biddle oversees, and that is the Second National Bank. Now, the Second National Bank was formed in 1816, and it was formed to kind of help put all government funds into one place, and they believed that by doing this it would help, you might say, make America's economy more efficient and allow for greater extension of things like credit. And if you extend the amount of credit that is out there, then you allow for loans that can lead to greater development of infrastructure, greater development of factories, and that sort of thing. Now, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you see it, right now, banks probably don't have the best reputation either. But in the early 19th century, they certainly didn't have a good reputation. And in fact, a lot of people kind of thought banks were on the level of houses of ill repute, if you will. So there were a lot of people that were not too happy that the federal government had come in and chartered this bank and was now depositing all of its money into this bank that had really little direct democratic oversight to it. People's sentiments towards the Second National Bank became even worse after the Panic of 1819. A lot of people blamed this financial crisis that took place at this point in time on the bank and on its deliberate shrinking of the credit supply out there. Now, I'm not going to get into the Panic of 1819 at this point in time. And also at the heart of the argument of the Second National Bank was the idea of soft money versus hard money. Now, hard money would be things like bullion, silver coins, gold coins. Traditionally, this is how the money system had been based upon, this idea of hard money. You know, that you obviously, if you're going to buy something, you need to give something of value. And of course, gold, silver, and other precious metals have had an innate value since the dawn of civilization. So, a lot of people trusted hard money, a lot of people liked hard money, but there was this second idea, or this kind of new idea as far as exchanges, financial exchanges went, and that was the soft money camp. People said, hey, look, we don't necessarily need to have everything backed in gold. In fact, what we should use is a more elastic type of currency that we can make more of, make less of as our economy grows. And that's going to ultimately allow for the economy to grow faster if it's more flexible. Now, a lot of people had a hard time believing this idea of soft money. Andrew Jackson is going to be one of the men in particular that does not like this idea of soft money and is critical of anyone who is particularly fond of it. Nicholas Biddle and the Second National Bank, however, were in many respects a soft money institution, at least at some levels. And so because of this, and because Andrew Jackson himself had been burned in the Panic of 1819, like many of his common countrymen, he is not going to have very high sentiments towards the Second National Bank, and when he becomes president in 1828, his sentiments towards the National Bank become quite obvious, and this is going to put him directly at odds with Nicholas Biddle.